Hey guys, the Explorer of Horror here, the Horror Boy. Welcome back to some more reviews, and today we're getting to another Italian horror film because lately I have been on a roll watching plenty of Italian horror, and that's basically because I've been really getting into these movies, and I've really been I don't know, it's just been this weird kind of, I guess, weird Italian horror phase that I've been going through lately. I've really been trying to track down these movies and see them. Um, and I have a couple movies that I wanted to give a review. Um, First movie that I want to talk about tonight is without a doubt like just such a classic horror film, and that's tonight's review of Tenebre, which came out in 1982, gets a 7.1 on IMDb, of course, written and directed by Dario Argento. Now, Tenebre, of course, I've covered Suspiria, which I really do love Suspiria. It does have a couple problems, but I still think overall, I think it has some of the best directing I've ever seen, some of the best lighting, some of the best music, some of the best, definitely one of the best third acts, and just has this cool atmosphere to it that I really thought was very unique and different, and also very well done. I really love the usage of bright colors. Also, I just thought it was overall just a well-made movie. Um, I would say it's just a really well-made movie, classic movie. I do have Deep Red, and as you guys can see, this DVD. I'll get into more depth when I get to this review about this DVD edition that I have. Um, let's just say this DVD has a couple problems, and I guess I could just mention it right now. I don't know what happened with this DVD. I got it for very cheap, $3, so I really didn't spend that much money on it. But it's kind of a unwatchable version of the movie because it has this problem with the dubbing. The dubbing will cut in and out from English to Italian, and I can't change it because there's no setup. There's no audio settings in this. Um, Also, the screen, the aspect ratio is so cropped that it's literally like a little tiny square in the middle of the little. It's like cropped so bad that it's just a little tiny rectangle in the middle of your TV. And I'm just like, what is this? And then it cuts in and out between the English and Italian dub, and then the subtitles will just kick in randomly, and then they'll be in English and Italian. Yeah. So I do have Deep Red, but unfortunately, this version I have really it isn't the best way to see this movie. But I do have Deep Red. Um, I do have Suspiria, and I do have Tenebre. And I must say, so far, Tenebre is my favorite Dario Argento movie. This is not only my favorite Dario Argento movie, this is one of my favorite Italian horror films ever. I really fell in love with this movie from really the first scene, and from there on, I really loved the movie, and I loved a lot of the things that was in this movie. Of course, Tenebre has a great cast to it, which that's one of the strongest things about this movie is that the cast is very well done. The dubbing really isn't that bad in this movie. The dubbing really isn't that bad. I can honestly say the dubbing is pretty good in this movie, and you have a good cast here. I mean, you've got the lead Anthony Franciosa. I'm really bad at names. You have Christian Barmio, Veronica Lario, Mirella D'Angelo, Eva Robbins, Anya Peroni, John Steiner. Of course, you have John Saxon in this movie in a really early role. Well, I don't know if it's really early because he had stuff from the 70s. This is the 80s, so this is probably a little bit later on in his career. But you have John Saxon in there, which I thought he did a great job as well. But yeah, the cast is wonderful. You have a lot of great characters in this movie, and they all do pretty good job as far as acting goes. And I love how they didn't change this DVD cover very far from the poster. Love that poster a lot. Very simple, but very, very classic. And to get into the story, basically there's this author who wrote this book, Tenebre, and there is this killer running around killing people and basing things off of his book. So it kind of reminded me of In the Mouth of Madness, only they're really two different movies. But it kind of reminded me of this whole the author and the things in the book being done in real life. Only In the Mouth of Madness is a lot more of a supernatural movie. This one's much more realistic. Of course, this is the first ever Giallo horror film that I've ever seen. Now, for those who don't know what Giallo horror is, basically Giallo is Italian slasher films. I believe this is a Giallo. I believe Deep Red is a Giallo as well. Is Bay of Blood Giallo? I heard it was. A couple other movies that I've heard of were some good Giallo horror films, Giallo slasher films. So that's basically what Giallo horror is. And you could tell that I was very new at learning this new subgenre of Italian horror because when I first said, "Oh yeah, this is my first Giallo," I spelled it wrong. So, and everybody's like, "That's not how you spell it." So I was like, oh, "Man, you could tell I'm so new at this." This really was the first Italian slasher film that I've ever seen because the Lucio Fulci movies are about zombies and supernatural things. Suspiria was much more about witches and cults and supernatural stuff, whereas this movie was just straight up slashing. And I must say, it's a very bloody movie. Really got into the gore in this movie. Very, very brutal film. And luckily, I think this is the uncut version right there. This is the Anchor Bay DVD. Found it for pretty cheap. And I must say, man, there's a lot of great things. Like I said, the story, you have these killings happening based off of this book, and the killer is obsessed with this book called Tenebre. And there's this detective who I thought was a good character, and it's this guy who dubbed him, kind of has this Italian accent, but his accent never changed. This is just something that I know about the character. His accent never changes emotion. It's like one note to the entire movie. It's not really a problem, surprisingly enough. It's just something that I kind of noticed about his character. But you also have this detective, this author, this other detective. They're all trying to work together to find out who this killer is. And spoiler alert, this is like a 30-year-old movie, but at the same time, Tenebre. I never heard of Tenebre till I had seen some videos, people talking about Italian horror, and this movie kind of popped up. But I will say this, spoiler alert here, this will contain spoilers from here on. But as the movie goes along, more and more of these killings happen, and the author gets these letters, and they all have different clues in them and different passages from the book. Different quotes from the book in the letters, which I thought was a pretty cool touch. And they basically find out that they find the first killer, because what's very interesting about this movie is that it's not just one killer. They find out this guy is murdered, and how do I explain this? The first half of the movie, a lot of the killings are done with like knives and stuff like that. And then, after a certain kill scene happens, you notice that the killer uses this axe more. This more older-looking axe. And the killer uses that more. And they start investigating it, and this other dude finds out that, I believe it was the Christian dude, finds out that the guy who was the original killer was killed by somebody else. And now this person is killing people. And I remember when that kicked in, I was like, wow, that's so unique. I've never seen that before. I've never seen a slasher film where another slasher comes in and kills the first killer, and it becomes a new mystery halfway through the movie. And I'm like, that is just so unique and different. I gotta give Dario Argento props for that. I mean, that is just some amazing writing an amazing filmmaking right there, I must say. It says here he wrote it, the screenplay and the story. So yeah, Dario Argento was like 100% involved in this movie. I thought the story was really well done. And so they got to figure out who this new killer is. And they start noticing little clues here and there. And it gets into the movie where they found that the author has went crazy and has been killing these people. And it's such a good twist. I really was so shocked when I seen that twist. Because I was thinking, oh, it's another copycat killer who got maybe mad at this other copycat killer, so he killed him. No, it's the author, and he went crazy, and he's been killing people. And it's a really good reveal. Because the actor sells it, he starts laughing maniacally. He even fakes his own suicide, where you think he slits his throat, but it's fake, and he ends up killing the detective, and ultimately does end up being killed by this girl, pretty much one of the leads of the movie. And he pretty much dies, and the movie ends, and you're just sitting there like in shock from that twist. I mean, it really is a great twist, I must say. It's a very fantastic twist that I did not see coming. And again, the guy who played the author really sold the twist, because even at first you're like, okay, is he the killer or is he not the killer? Like, you don't know. And then as soon as he starts just laughing maniacally and going crazy, you know there that he was the killer. And it was just such a well done twist. Really, really shocking and really, really surprising. To get into the positive, this movie has a lot of positives going for it. Like I said, the acting is really solid. The dubbing isn't too bad. I love the musical score in this movie. I love it a lot. I must say, this and Suspiria have just some of the most beautiful, haunting, creepy, but yet also energetic and awesome scores. They're just so unique, and they're not copycats, you know? They're not copycats of each other's scores. They're two very different sounding scores. And I did start to watch Deep Red, but I couldn't finish it because just all the problems that I had with this edition of it, I had to stop watching it because I just could not continue on, because it was kind of unwatchable, because the dub cuts in and out and the subtitles cut in and out, and the movie is cropped really badly and the aspect ratio is pretty bad. But I did hear the music in this movie, and it also sounded really good too. So yeah, I love the music in this movie. I love it. You know, that opening theme song. The main thing to this movie is really great. I love the opening titles and the quote from the book, and the fireplace, and the credits start rolling. The intro. I loved that. That was so cool. You got some beautiful women in this movie. Some wonderful, beautiful actresses in this movie. They really do look just beautiful. And they also are good actresses. So you also got some nudity in there, some really good-looking nudity in there, but you also got good characters and a good mystery. It's a very mysterious movie. It's a movie that you don't know where it's really going to go next, and it keeps you engaged. And apparently this is 101 minutes long. It does not feel like that. It goes by at such a good pace. I will say that too. The pacing in this movie is amazing and very well done. It's a very, very fast-paced film. So yeah, you got some great nudity in there, but of course, talk about this movie, you got to talk about the gore and kills. And I must say, there is one hell of a body count in this movie. Just literally one of the biggest body counts I've seen in a horror film. And a lot of them are just brutal and really, really bloody and just really, really well done. A lot of when somebody gets their throat slit, the blood will squirt into a fountain on the wall, and the blood just squirts on the wall, and it's like a really good visual. That sounds crazy, but it's like a good visual. It's well shot, but it's just a creepy looking scene because the blood is on the wall, and as she's walking, the blood gets all over the wall. Great scene, very, very creepy looking shot. a lot of the, and I will say the blood is very, very bright red, almost paint looking blood, but it's still effective. And it's really intense death scenes. A lot of people getting stabbed multiple times. Very, very brutal stuff. A lot of the axe death scenes are very impactful and intense. Axes to the head, axes to the back, people getting strangled. A lot of various death scenes in this movie. So the slasher film, it definitely has the gore and the kills. Some great gore, some great kills, a great twist, a cool mystery, some engaging characters. I like how they gave the characters things to make them memorable by. You know, they the Christian character is more of a younger character, and he's trying to help the author find out who the killer is. But of course, the author is the killer, so he ends up getting killed. But the Christian character is also dating this other girl, and they have the little love story thing they have. Not much of the story is devoted to it, but they also get into arguments stuff. Like they actually fleshed out those characters a little bit, which they gave them little traits like the whole love story aspect and stuff like that. John Saxton's character, he wears this hat that really makes the character memorable because he's like my new hat? Oh, don't forget about my hat. He has this the whole movie talking about this hat he has. It makes the character memorable. The author is very memorable. His girlfriend I thought was a good lead. A lot of the other women in the movie I thought were great actresses and beautiful. Um, yeah, I mean, a lot of just a great cast, great gore, very fast paced. Love the score, has a great moody atmosphere to it, very, very dark atmosphere. I love the mystery. Overall, it doesn't really have any problems for me, to be honest. Doesn't really have any problems. And that's really commendable. I actually really do enjoy this movie a lot. Now I'm bouncing back and forth between an 8 and a 9. I'm gonna go with an 8, or maybe I don't know. Should I give it a 9? It's really solid. There's not really any problems with the movie. I'm gonna go in the middle of the road. I'm gonna give it an 8.5. So almost a 9, but it's still a fantastic horror film that I, without a doubt, recommend, and definitely think that if you like slasher films and you want to try to see Italian horror, I recommend Tenebre. It's very well done. Um, it's very memorable. It's very classic, and I definitely think it's a masterpiece. Great movie. So yeah, Dario Argento's Tenebre gets an 8.5 out of 10 from me. Fantastic movie. Really enjoyed it, and yeah, really enjoyed Tenebre. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this movie in the comments below. Have you seen it? Have you not? Are you going to see it? Are you not going to see it? Let me know. Um, anyways, thanks for watching. The Explorer of Horror out. And I'll see you guys later. Have a good night.